In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about a Warcry campaign. So you want to play a Warcry campaign. You start out by forming a warband and picking a quest. Your warband will consist of at least 3 fighters, a maximum of 20 fighters, and at least and maximum of 1 leader. If you play the standard version of the campaign, as you can find in the core rulebook, you will notice that there is actually no cap on the amount of models you can have in your band when you start. So you can basically just start with 20 dudes or dudettes. There's a lot of dudettes in Warcry, that's really great. But there's really no limit, which is sort of weird. You can only just bring the 1000 points into the game, but you can have 20 fighters in your warband if you, on the other hand, play this new edition in the Tome of Champions. Your starting warband will be capped to 1000 points. So yeah, the normal version of the Warcry campaign is slightly weird because you can just have as many fighters as you want, and when they die you can just swap them out with some new people at no cost at all. So yeah, you don't get the sense of danger. Your guys, they're injured or they die or whatever. It's like it doesn't really matter. Now you need to name your warband. You also need to name each of your fighters, so you sort of know at the end of the game exactly who survived, and fighters can get artifacts and they can get destiny levels, so you need to know who's who. And it's always good to name people, because a campaign is really only as fun as the narrative you build together with your friends and your group. Also in the book, you have quite a lot of tables for backgrounds for your fighters, backgrounds for your leader, so you can sort of personalize your warband with a small story or narrative behind why they are fighting. Now that you have your warband ready, it's time for them to embark on a quest. You need to decide on what campaign quest you're going on. So that's sort of your overarching goal. It will determine what special missions you get. It will determine what artifacts you get, what command traits you get. If you play one of the original Chaos warbands made for Warcry, you will have 2 different campaign quests to select from in the core book. If you play one of the AOS warbands, so that's warbands that actually has an army in Age of Sigmar, you have 1 quest to select from. The first wave of warbands will have their campaign quest in the core book, and the second wave of warbands will have their quest in the Tome of Champions. In the Monsters and Mercenary book, you also have missions or quests that everyone can select. Oh yeah, and the Spire Tyrants and the Scions of Flame are a bit different. They have 1 mission in the core book, not in the Tome of Champions. Oh yeah, and the quests in Monsters and Mercenaries are called Fated Quests and are slightly different. In your quests, besides the small flavor text and sort of the outcome of the campaign that you get when you're done, you also get 3 special missions called a Convergence. So if we look at the warband roster for your campaign, you will see that each time you play a game, you move forward 1 step on the map. So after the first game is played, you go there, then you go there, then you go there. When you are at the 3rd point, the next time you play a game, you can either play the Convergence special quest map from your campaign, or you can play just whatever. From now on, you need to complete that convergence to move on to the next step. So you're sort of stuck there until you win your special mission. That can be a tiny bit annoying because it can sometimes be really hard to complete that quest, and then you're just stuck there. So you might need to figure out some sort of house rules if people get stuck. Well, you're adult gamers, you can figure it out. But after you win your first convergence, you get an artifact of power. And the artifact of power is one you choose among the 3 available in your quest. You continue on your quests, and when you reach the 2nd convergence, the same thing happens. But after that, you get a command trait, and in the end, you have the final convergence. And when you win that, you actually win the campaign. Your quest will detail whatever outcome, you get some small text, and you get some bonus, an artifact or something like that. And here you sort of had to decide if you're finished with that warband and that campaign, or if you would like to play on. This is the weird part about the campaign. Your warband can actually be part of multiple different campaigns. Campaign is not everybody starts at the same time and ends at the same time. It's different warbands can participate in the campaign and move in and out of the campaign, if that's what you want to do. We play it that we all start at the same time. We try to get an equal amount of games in each people in the group, but it can be hard. So it's a flexible system, but it's also a slightly weird system. Enough about the quirkiness of the campaign quest rules. So your warband is ready, and you now need to play a game. You and your opponent must decide on what kind of battle you're playing. You can play a regular pitch battle where you use the cards and just randomly generate, or you can play a convergence if either one of you are ready for that. Only a single person can play their convergence in a single battle. Before the battle you need to muster your warband. And to muster your warband you need to take your campaign roster, and you need to select a maximum of 15 fighters out of the dudes and dudettes on your roster. The total points value of the guys you bring into battle from your roster, your total warband, must be maximum 1000 points plus 50 points for each domain you have conquered in the campaign. We'll get to that part later about getting new areas and more points. That's campaign. So since everybody does not follow along on the same path, and maybe the guy you're playing has played a few more games than you, it's possible he has more dominated territories than you have, which just means he has a few extra points. 50 points is not a big deal to be behind, but 150, that's a different case. So there's a rule. If your opponent has more dominated territories than you do, you can spend 1 glory point. That's the currency of the campaign, that's what you get for winning and playing the game. You can spend 1 glory, and your cap for the game will be raised by 50 points. So 1 glory for 50 points only in this battle. Or you could pay 3 glory and gain 100 points for this battle only. So that's sort of a slight catch-up mechanic if you want to play against a beefier opponent. You might be in a situation where you have more points than you have fighters on your roster, so you have points left over. That's never good. In that case you can bring the thralls. The thralls are like the beasts from the starter box. These guys are not added to your warband per se, they just join you for a single battle. If you play with any of the supplements, and you're playing with this one, there are certain types of mission called challenge battles. A challenge battle is slightly different. If you win it, you get a specific bonus for winning it, but you're not going to gain glory, you're not going to advance on your campaign track. So it's sort of a standalone one-off mission type deal. I'm sorry for interrupting this video, but I have a very important message for you. I am from the future, or actually I'm from the past, and I'm talking to you in the present. At any rate, if you're watching this before the 1st of October, you have a chance to win an amazing giveaway. I am giving away everything in my Underworld supply drop for free. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment on any of my videos and you are entered into the giveaway. It will finish on the 1st of October, so make sure to get that comment and subscription in. Okay, you've played a game, and now comes the good part. This is the stuff that happens after a game has been played, and this is the fun stuff. This is the injuries, this is the did you find an artifact, who leveled up, who died, all that kind of crap. So this part is called the Aftermath sequence, and it's hard to remember every step of it. I'll go through it now, but I have also made a cheat sheet that you can get after you have played the battle. A lot of things will happen. I'll go through them now. And be aware that these are the updated rules that came with the Tome of Champions 2019 update. Step 1. Earn and spend glory. You get free glory if you have participated in the battle. Now, if you won the objective, you get 2 extra glory. If you downed the opponent's leader, you get 1 glory. If you downed 1/3 of your opponent's warband, you get 1 glory. If you downed 2/3, you get 2 glory. And if you downed all of them, you get 3 glory. If you played against an opponent with 2 territories dominated more than you have, you get 1 glory. In the rulebook, step 1 is also the part where you spend your glory. I find this slightly weird because we have a lot of steps to go through, so I really don't know how I'm going to spend it, and I might have to get home and think about it before my next battle what I'm going to do. So we have played it that you can, before your next game, just spend your glory whenever you want to, but per the rules it's actually in the game glory step that you do it, but it's up to you. Step 2. This is the really fun part. For each fighter that was taken down, you roll a d6, and on a 6 he is injured in some way. Now if you don't play in the champion mode, that's the rules from the Tome of Champions, you roll on an injury table in the core rulebooks. That's page 66. But if you play with the Tome of Champion, the injury table is on page 50 of that Tome of Champion. So you take 1 6-sided die and you decide that's the 10, and you take 1 and decide that's the single. And you roll it up, and high is pretty sweet, and low is he's probably dead. If it is temporary, then after your next game, you need to remember to roll to see if that is removed. In this injury step is where you do that, and you just roll a d6 for each one, and on a 4+, the injury is gone. Now we have rolled a die for each of the fighters that was taken down. Now it's time to roll to see if the fighters that stayed on the table gain a destiny level. If a fighter has 1 destiny level, it means that he can re-roll a single die when attacking. And he can use that once per battle. If he has 2 levels, he can re-roll twice. So for each fighter on the table, you roll a d6. On a 6, he gains a destiny level. Step 4. Add and remove fighters. This is the part where you add and remove fighters. And if you play with the normal rules, you can just remove all the fighters you want and add all the fighters you want. And you can see how this is really weird, because why the heck are we rolling for injuries and stuff when I can just get them out and get some new guys in? But if you play with the champion mode, adding a fighter actually costs glory. So adding 1 fighter from 0 to 100 points costs 1 glory point just to get him on the roster. It doesn't mean that you can bring more than 1,000 points to the actual game, but now you have that guy on the roster. The more a fighter costs, the more it costs to put him on the roster. And you can see the table here, how much it will cost to add a fighter. Oh yeah, step 5. This is the sweetest part. It is where you again roll on a big 66 table, and you see whether or not your warband has found anything of value, meaning a lesser artifact. And perishable means that after the next game on a 4+, you keep it, or if not, it's lost forever. But the lesser artifacts are really cool. You need to remember to assign the lesser artifacts and the artifacts you get to fighters to use them in the game. Step 6. Advance on the campaign map. Step 6 is just that you need to remember to move ahead on the campaign tracker on your campaign roster, no matter if you won or lost. If you lost a convergence battle, you don't move forward. And if you played a challenge battle, you don't move forward. But otherwise, you move forward. So step 7, after you have moved on track, if you are now on a space that says command trait or artifact, you gain one of the command traits or one of the artifacts on your campaign quest. You can roll for it, or you can decide yourself, or you can decide among your friends how you're gonna do it. So that's actually the rules for a Warcry campaign. There are some slight weird issues that you might run into. So let's talk about them. When does the campaign actually end? There are a few different ways you can do it. You can decide that once a warband has completed the quest, they are done, out of the campaign. Or you can decide that they can just take another quest, which is how the rules are written, that you can just keep on going. You can also decide to race for completion of one quest or two quests or something like that. You can also just decide that whenever somebody is too powerful to beat, the campaign will end. Or you could decide that once he's too powerful to beat, you'll smash his miniatures or something. There are some slight balancing issues that you might want to consider when you start your campaign. I think it's a good idea to sort of designate a campaign master who tries to run the narrative and figure out a way to sort of make the different storylines intertwine. That can be a good way of sort of get some meaning and some meat into the campaign. Also, there's a problem with warband snowballing, and there are not really sort of any hard and fast solutions to it, but I just think if your eye is directed towards the narrative of the campaign, I think you can find sort of subtle tweaks that can maybe give a slight bonus to some of the other warbands, but explain it with the narrative. So nobody likes the monopoly, nobody likes a really powerful warband, so maybe they try to bring them down together or something like that. If a warband gets stuck on a convergence for a long time, it might be a good idea to sort of just let them move on. You could do some sort of ruling where if you win your convergence you get something extra, but if you don't, it's not a big penalty, because people can be stuck on a single hard mission for a long time. Something you need to consider is whether or not all of the warbands are allowed to play in the campaign. The competitive difference between the warbands are significant. You just need to figure out if everything is allowed or how you're going to deal with that issue. I think that about covers the Warcry campaign, really. So I hope you liked this video. See you next time. Like and subscribe. I'm out.